Sorry it got cut off. Anyways, I just opened these up out of the sleeve and you can see there's stuff on them, that like goldish stuff. So I'm gonna spray them with brake cleaner real quick. As soon as I find it, I'm gonna spray them with brake clean and wipe them off, and after I wipe them off, then we'll install each and every single one of them. The ones I just showed you was for the cap side. See how that ends on the side? Go ahead and take my rag. Wipe my back side of the bearing off. Okay, bearing is clean, block is clean. Then you just want to set it down in here. Go ahead and take your assembly lube. Looking like money. Alright, now we'll go ahead and we'll get the cap side done. Okay, so I'm going to, here, I'll show you guys. So I got number 5. Number 5 has an arrow on it that faces this way, goes towards the timing belt. Okay, this is the flywheel, this is the timing belt. The alternator would tell you that's the front of the motor. Okay, which I don't need that on there, but after I put the bearing on, I'm gonna set each one down and then I'm gonna remove them and then we'll put the crank down in. So don't think I'm messing up. If you know what I'm doing, guys, I'm sorry. I just do it this way. It's a little bit different. Everybody has their own way of building engines, I guess. Guys, let me set these guys right. I try not to finger my bearings up a lot either. And if I see like a smudge on it, I'll just wipe it off. On my pants, I wear dirty clothes out to work on my car because if I'm going to be getting messy, I would rather ruin the same outfit than ruin multiple outfits. I used to wear all my nice outfits working on my car, and then you suddenly don't have outfits to wear. Okay, another bearing installed in the cap. This is number 4. See how the arrow is facing backwards? You could definitely install these wrong, so be careful, be mindful when you're messing with your stuff. This is number 3. Okay, let's go on the back side. On for a minute. Okay. The crank has oil on it, which I'm not worried about all of that. Okay, there's number 5. Number 4. Number 3. Ooh. Don't drop your main caps, fellas. I'm trying to set mine on the side of the engine stand so I can record. Number 2. And I'll put one by itself. Okay, and bam. And then, before you guys think I'm a dummy, I didn't forget the thrust washers. See, this is why I don't like these shrink packages on bearings and stuff. Especially when you gotta cut them open because you can damage your stuff. But as soon as you get it started, you'll be alright. Now, there's a lot of controversy against this. I always put the lines up against the block so it can oil the thrust bearing, which is the way it's supposed to be. They go up against like this. I literally hold them in with a little bit of assembly lube. So I'll just grab some from its bearing, put a little bit on the back side of it here. People say you gotta put these in dry, some say you gotta put them in wet. I just put them in with a little bit of assembly lube on them and it holds it right in position so it don't knock it out when I'm putting the crank down inside the block. Okay guys, now you can see the thrust washers are in there. I'll zoom in so you can see them. You can see that they're in their home. That's what my engine beat up. Zoom in a little bit. Alright, now we're going to set the crank down inside of it. Make sure, once again, all my bearings look okay. They're all coated. Don't want nothing dry. Touching metal to metal. You don't want it to be dry. You want it to be wet. That's what she said. Okay, now we'll set the crank down in here. I forget the torque specs on the caps right now, so I'm not going to tell you guys them. I'll put it in the comments if you want to know what the torque specs are for your main caps. I'm just trying to inspect the crank where it was beaten up on the thrust washer at. Give me 1 second here. Okay, everything looks fine. The crank's still turning. All the bearings are in there. Now what we'll do, I'll start in the middle and work my way out. So we'll get number 3 here. We'll put some assembly lube like this. Like this. Put some right here. Put some right here. And we'll put some right here. And we'll even put a little bit on the bearings just to make sure that we don't have a dry start when we start the vehicle. Definitely don't want that. So now number 3, we'll go on here. You can tap on it with a rubber hammer or a mallet. Just don't tap on it with like a hammer. All you're doing is seating it down in there. Just so you can run the bolts down. Now I'm gonna grab mine. And when you tighten these down, when you're going to tighten them, like to torque them, you want to tighten them down evenly so the cap goes down even so the bearing don't get mushed inside of the cap. Spin it. Turns nice and easy. That's a good sign. Okay, that's how you want to check it. Every time you put a cap on, you want to spin it to check it. Now we'll go ahead and we'll do number 2. Put a little bit assembly lube on the bearing itself. Okay. Go ahead and make sure the whole bearing's coated once again. Number 2. Okay. And that, my friends, is how you put bearings in a crank in a Honda Civic engine. It's not hard at all. If I can do it, you can do it. You just gotta take your time and make sure you're clean about your stuff and you'll be alright. We won't have no problems, guys. This stuff, somebody had to learn how to do this stuff, you know what I mean? That's why they have mechanics. I mean, some people have been doing it longer than others, yes, absolutely, but there's always a day that you can pick up a tool and start wrenching on your car, dude. You don't have to not work on your car because you're scared. If you're scared, just learn, research about what you're doing before you do it, you know? Now you're probably wondering why I haven't spun it over since I put them 2 on there. Well, that's because it's gonna get a little tougher, but not only that, I'm not tightening them down yet, so my crank did fall, so I'm trying to make sure that it's okay. That's why I'm turning it right now, but everything looks fine. trash in there, but that'll carry. Stuff in there. We got number 5 and number 1 left, guys, and then once I get the torque number, which I have to just go look on Honda real quick. Once I figure it out, I'm pretty sure it's. I want to say it's 45 foot-pounds or 55 foot-pounds, but don't hold me to that because I'm not 100% at the moment. So. All my journals for my rods look good. I'll show you guys putting the rods and the pistons in when that time comes, but right now I'm not because I gotta get ready for work in 2 hours. So I'm gonna get ready to go back in and go to bed. I'm just getting the crank in the motor so it's out of the way from my activity so I don't knock it over and break it or something. Okay, last bearing, guys. This is literally that simple. You literally just want to coat the whole bearing. Here, I'll show you guys that part. Coat the whole bearing. Turn it around. Take your arrow. Actually, check this out. What it looks like to see a crank cap down onto the crank. There it goes. Shouldn't have been hitting it like a little Girl Scout and actually gave it some okadokas in there, but it went. But yeah, before you start torquing them down, I would just make sure that they're all seated. Wish I would have my impact. This would make this job a little easier. And then after you tighten each cam cap, I would do like number 3, and then 4, and then 2, and then 1, 1, bam, bam, and then, but after each cam cap, you want to spin your crank and make sure everything feels good, which mine does. So there's that. That's how you install a crank into a Honda B series engine. Later, guys.